I kept on posting stuff because I refused to be silenced about the topic. As I saw the male-born lifter going to nationals and going to these big competitions, I was like, well, nothing's being done. No one's stopping this. No one's even talking about it. So I continued to use my social media. And then basically going forward just a little bit, I've now been banned for 2 years for basically stating what I would call a fact, the truth on the Piers Morgan show by calling the male-born lifter a biological male on TV.
Why is women's bench so bad? I mean, not compared to me. We all know that I'm a tranny freak, so that doesn't count. Standard bench in powerlifting competition for women, I literally don't understand why it's so bad.
This isn't about hate, and this is not about anti-trans. This is about pro-woman and fairness in women's sports.
Do you know the story of Canadian powerlifter April Hutchinson? She's the internationally ranked Canadian powerlifter who was just threatened with a 2-year ban on competing in her sport after she spoke out on social media and on media appearances about the biological reality of a male-born competitor dominating women's powerlifting. Once you hear April's story, you're going to want to get involved to help her in her fight for fairness and to keep women's sports safe for women and girls. And you can get involved by going to standwithapril.com. There you can make a donation to April's legal fund, and you can sign our petition to the Canadian Powerlifting Union to reinstate her. Now, April began powerlifting as a part of her addiction recovery. April's story is one of overcoming adversity. It's the kind of story we want to be able to tell our girls. But now, April's accolades and her winnings are being looted by a male competitor who identifies as female.
Why is women's bench so bad? I mean, not compared to me. We all know that I'm a tranny freak, so that doesn't count. And no, we're not talking about Mackenzie Lee. She's got little T-Rex arms and she's like 400 pounds of chest muscle, apparently. I mean, standard bench in powerlifting competition for women, I literally don't understand why it's so bad.
This male competitor is beating the closest female competitor by 200 kilograms and then mocking the losses of these women on social media. April made a complaint about this to the Canadian Powerlifting Union, and she was ignored. So she took to social media and to media appearances to express her outrage and to make sure the world knew what was going on inside female powerlifting. And April was just punished for it. While her complaint about the male powerlifter dominating female competitions and then mocking biological women was ignored, April was the one punished with a threatened 2-year ban for bringing awareness to the problem. But April's fighting back because she's a fighter. She fought addiction. She fought to the very top of her sport. Now she's fighting to keep her sport female. At Rebel News, we're going to help her, but we can't do any of this without you. We're crowdfunding April's legal fees at standwithapril.com, and we're petitioning the Canadian Powerlifting Union to drop its threat of a 2-year ban against her. You can sign that petition at standwithapril.com. Now let's hear from April Hutchinson herself, and we'll hear from her really excellent lawyer, Lisa Bildy.
Okay, well, the whole battle with my federation started way back probably in January when I wrote a letter to the CPU expressing my concerns about a male-born lifter in my federation. My federation kind of ignored my letter. There was no response by them at all, actually. So I basically kept on writing letters, again, being ignored. And I started posting to social media because I had no response. So I went to social media as a way to bring attention to what was going on. They sent me a letter basically saying that I breached social media conduct for just simply stating stuff like save women's sports, keep men out of women's sports, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, they sent me a warning for that. And then it continued. I kept on posting stuff because I refused to be silenced about the topic as I saw the male-born lifter going to nationals and going to these big competitions, I was like, well, nothing's being done. No one's stopping this. No one's even talking about it. So I continued to use my social media. And then basically going forward just a little bit, I've now been banned for 2 years for basically stating what I would call a fact, the truth on the Piers Morgan show by calling the male-born lifter a biological male on TV.
When you hear her mocking, really, the whole situation, how does that make you feel?
I mean, it's the whole thing is disgusting. It's disgraceful. It's disheartening. It's even more disheartening that the Federation allows this to happen. I am the one being punished for speaking truth, yet he can mock females and say, call me a bigot, incite hate, and nothing's being done about that. But I'm the one being silenced by my federation.
Now, this is a male-born lifter that is beating the nearest female competitor by 200 kilograms. Am I right about that?
Yeah, so 200 kilograms, for people that don't know, is about 462 pounds. Yeah, basically dominated the females at Westerns back in August. Also holds the highest deadlift in all powerlifting history for women.
And mocked women for losing to him.
Yeah, Anne actually started mocking women back in March. There was a viral video that went around about Anne making fun of women, why we're so weak at bench press, that his 5-year-old son could lift more than women. that was everywhere on social media. Nothing was ever done about that. I put a complaint in about that, and I didn't even get a response. I didn't even get okay, thank you, we'll work on this. They just disregarded it and looked at it. They did get back to me the day before they issued my suspension, saying it was vexatious and frivolous, that, it meant nothing. So
you can't speak out about biological reality on social media, but this male competitor who's looting female accolades can mock women on social media.
Yeah, exactly. I'm being silenced for speaking the truth.
Now, just before we move to your lawyer, because you've got a really great lawyer who cares about human rights and civil liberties working on this for you, but how long have you been training for your sport?
Well, I've been training for about over 4 or 5 years. I actually started powerlifting in 2019 as a way to help me with my addiction. I went to rehab, and when I came out, I started powerlifting as a way to help me with my mental health issues, to release any anxiety. And I actually trained right through COVID. So I trained my butt off every day, and that's how I got to the world stage so soon, like within 2 years. And now I don't even have my sport. Like, it's been very upsetting to me. I'm still powerlifting, but I don't have it how I used to, because I don't have a competition to look forward to. This whole process has been so draining. It's really affected my mental health.
You fought through addiction. You fought to get to the top of your sport, and now you're fighting to keep your sport fair for female competitors. And let's move over to your lawyer now, Lisa Bildy from Libertas Law. Lisa, what are the next steps for April, but also for other women and girls who are interested in becoming powerlifters?
Well, I think we have to address this issue head on. And, the more that organizations try to pretend it isn't an issue and punish those who speak out against it, the bigger the problem becomes for everybody. We really just need to find a way to achieve fairness in sport for all competitors. And, sporting organizations have always had different categories to ensure fairness, whether it's weight or age or, doping or not doping, or biology, male or female. And that has always been part of fair sport. So to pretend that we can't even address that elephant in the room anymore is doing a service to no one. So what's next? Well, we did file some lengthy submissions on April's behalf prior to the suspension being ordered. So they didn't even acknowledge that they received those submissions. They didn't address them in their decision at all. So we're going to appeal that through some internal processes. It's supposed to go to an independent adjudicator at this point now. So we'll be filing some submissions in that regard. But Sheila, we're also looking at other things that we can do for women, and particularly for April and other competitors in her sport who are trying to address the fact that there's sex discrimination now in their sport. They can't compete fairly, and there's an added burden to them as women that men don't face in their competition. So we are looking at some other legal avenues, and I'm sure that Rebel News will be the first to hear about it when we're ready to launch.
You know, I'm proud to say that at Rebel News, we're going to get involved. We're going to help. We're going to launch a crowdfunding campaign to make sure that you have all of the financial resources that you need to, this is your fight, but it is a fight for the fairness of the entire sport and for all women and girls who want to participate in the sport. And we're launching a petition to the CPU to reinstate you in the interest of fairness and in the interest of female sport. You have a clothing line. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that also?
Yeah, so I've been lucky enough to pair up with a local clothing company called Hustle Clothing, and I love it because it's local, and the actual owner believes in what I'm doing so much that he actually is doing it at no cost. So all people have to do is order a T-shirt or a hoodie. You also get like a free Keep Female Sports female sticker, bumper sticker with every order. Any money that's raised, he's giving it directly to me so that I can help out with legal fund as well. It might not be as much as other people, but I'd like to help out where I can, right? So I mean, Lisa deserves it too.
Now, if you have a final message to the people who are going to throw their financial support and their moral support behind you as you fight for fairness, what would that be?
Well, the number one message that I've been saying all along is men and women, not just women, men and women need to use your voices, because this is how change happens. People might not use your voice because they're like, oh, well, it doesn't affect me directly. It will. It affects everyone. People that have daughters, I have 2 nieces. This is why I'm fighting. At the end of the day, I really don't care if I don't powerlift. I want to do this for the future of women's sports. So everyone needs to step up, speak loudly, and don't be afraid, because you are standing for the truth. And that's so important.
April, Lisa, thank you so much for your advocacy on behalf of Canada's women and girls, daughters like mine. I know it's not easy. You are right now, you're the face of transphobia. And that's not an easy place to be when you just want to compete in your sport.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I know who I am as a person. Those are just words at the end of the day, and it doesn't bother me. I can go to bed and have a good sleep at night because I'm a good person. I'm a compassionate, very loving person. I love all human beings. This isn't about hate, and this is not about anti-trans. This is about pro-woman and fairness in women's sports.
April Hutchinson is fighting for her right to compete fairly in powerlifting. And that fight is against the Canadian Powerlifting Union. But she's also fighting for the rights of women and girls to compete against each other in the sports they love without having their trophies, opportunities, accolades, and accomplishments stolen away from them by biological male competitors who identify as female. I'm old enough to remember when testosterone was a performance-enhancing drug for female competitors. But now female powerlifters have to compete against biological males who have undergone performance-enhancing testosterone-driven male puberty. If you think this is unfair, and if you, like me, are proud to have somebody like April Hutchinson fighting for our daughters, sisters, and friends, please go to standwithapril.com and sign the petition to the Canadian Powerlifting Union, asking them to drop the threat of a 2-year ban against April. And while you're there, you can make a donation to April's legal battle for fairness. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. To support April Hutchinson in her battle against the Canadian Powerlifting Union, go to standwithapril.com. There you can sign the petition asking them to drop their threat of a 2-year ban against her, and you can donate to her legal fund. Again, that's standwithapril.com.